Welcome back everyone to the Food Innopolis International Symposium 2020, the quest for sustainable food system. And during each session, if there is any question, please feel free to send it to us through the Q&A box. The speaker are willing to answer all your questions at the end of each session.
Now, we're honored to have some experts to participate in this session, the circular food system, the food and the city. Our speakers are Mr. Huang, Director of Crust Group, Singapore; Mr. Lionel Wong, Founder Director of Upgrown Farming Company, Singapore;
Mr. Viboon Pungprasert, Division Manager in Bioplastic Solution of PTT Global Chemical Public Company Limited. And this session will be moderated by Dr. Petoon Maneepairoj, Vice President, MK Restaurant Group Public Company Limited. Please welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Petoon from MK Restaurant Group, and it is my honor today to be moderating for you. So welcome everyone to the session, the Circular Food System, the Food and the City. Today we have with us 3 speakers who are experts in sustainable food supply. So first of all, may I first ask the speakers to each give us a brief intro of their business, starting with Lionel from Upgrown Farming, then Jim from Crust Group, and then last but not least, Kun Viboon from PTTGC.
I'm just going to start. So thank you for having us today. It's really an honor to share our story with all of you. Crust is a Singapore-based R&D food tech, upcycling raw materials and valorizing food loss into beverages and other applications for corporate customers. Next slide, please. What we do is, I think, it's probably worth highlighting to the audience that we throw away a third of the food we produce every year, and that's over 1 billion tons. While you got 800 million people go hungry every night, and so we're looking to close that disconnect. And on top of that, this food loss is costing us over $2 trillion per year. And I think worst of all, every 3 kilo of food loss produces 23 kilo of greenhouse emission, which leads to global warming. And I think that's kind of where Crust come in. We want to maximize the resources we have around us, and our mission is to reduce 1% of the global food loss by 2030. And I think it's especially important to highlight that during this pandemic, the global supply chain, the logistics, is not as robust as we had thought. And therefore, our mission is really to drive a sustainable and circular economy especially for food security and safety. Next slide, please. So our technology really comes down to working with different raw materials, such as we work with rice, with bread, with fruits, vegetables, cereals, and even potato chips. We have ways where we can upcycle these ingredients into different applications. Our flagship, as you can see here, it's our Crust Beer that we produce in Singapore, and that was fairly fun. And we have different flavors, and they're on the supermarket shelves in Singapore. We're working on our next technology, which is Crop, our non-alcoholic carbonated drinks. That's also including food loss, as well as we'll be adding a special something to increase the immunity system of everyone to fight COVID-19. And this is really pretty much our food as medicine category that we intend to continue to expand. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we're doing piloting right now with Dole, with Kellogg, salad stores, as well as bakery stores, and we're hoping to speak to more customers in Thailand as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the way we go about it is really through our sustainable model, where we use our technology, we work with our customers' food loss, we upcycle that under their brand into a product that they can go back and sell to their customers. So this is the way for us to really create a circular economy where customers can valorize their own food loss. We're very much taking tangible actions on the UN's SDG objectives, including number 2, zero hunger, 13, climate action, 17, partnership, just to name a few. We know we can't do this by ourselves, and that's why we need as many people to join us on this journey to fight food loss and create a better environment. So yeah, I think we're very happy to be here today, and I'm going to pause here and give the floor back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Sounds like a very interesting way to tackle food waste. So next, can I just move on to Kun Viboon from PTT GC? Could you give us a short intro to your business, please?
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Petoon and TMA. I'm glad to be here. Can you show my slide, please? Okay. Okay. I haven't seen my slide, but I can remember. Okay. I'm Viboon Pungprasert. I'm the commercial manager for bioplastics for the PTT Global Chemical. Who is Global Chemical? The next slide, please. PTT Global Chemical is the #1 petrochemical company in Thailand, and in Southeast Asia, we can say that. So we are the biggest petrochemical company in Thailand. Yeah. We have around 11 million tons production of the polymers. Okay, and I think we are also the #1 in the Dow Jones Sustainable Index for the chemical sector, and we are in the top 10 for 7 consecutive years. So we are committed to the sustainability, especially for the petrochemical industry. Okay, for the next slide, please. Okay. Our GC, we call short for the PTT GC. We have about 8 business units, starting from the refinery of the oil and gas, and then come up with the polymers. And the one that I taking care of is the green chemical, especially the bioplastics is in the green chemical BU. And there is many companies inside the green chemical BU, including the NatureWorks, who is the biggest producer of the bioplastic in the world, the polylactic acid of POA, with 150,000 metric tons a year production in the US. And also we have a joint venture with Mitsubishi Chemical for producing the bio-PBS. The plant is in Thailand with 20,000 metric tons. With the direction on the bioplastics, we are committed to promote the sustainable material to the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Viboon. So we have a really good mix today. Another large company, PTT. So Lionel is back here with us. Can I just ask Lionel to introduce his business? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lionel. So Upgrown Farming is a agriculture design and consulting firm. We basically work with startups, corporates, and SMEs in the food and agri space. So we design farms and we provide business model, strategy, planning for farms that are starting up, especially like the new high-tech farms that are coming up, around the world today. So we are involved in greenhouse technologies and indoor farming technologies, and also on the hardware and software side of things. We can go to the next slide. So I think just to give a brief introduction about the different types of applications out there in terms of food production. There are many reasons why companies dive into this area. So primarily it's meant for commercial food production, and then there are also increasing number of corporates that are getting into this for marketing and branding purpose. Universities and research institutes are constantly working on the research side of things, and then of course on the education side, and also with community farming as well. So these are different reasons why companies and startups get into the farming space, right? So I think one of the topics that we'll talk about later is trying to find out what's the objective of investing into food production in the first place. Can I go to the next slide? And so just to give a brief introduction on the different types of farming methods and technologies out there today. So there's indoor farms and plant factories that are done in within a warehouse, and there's also high-tech greenhouses that are used for hydroponics and soil cultivation. So these are all protected cropping. And then we also have more urban centric solutions that are container farms, and of course on rooftops that are up and coming as well. And then of course we have the traditional open field cultivation in the soil as well. Yeah. So we can go to the next slide. Yeah. So these are some, just a quick, visual aid in terms of the different kinds of farming applications that our company are serving. So we have different solutions for each of the various, types of farming methodologies. So for traditional farming, we mostly help out in the pest management, so we use organic methodologies, and we try to eliminate or minimize the amount of chemicals and pesticide use. And then, of course, with controlled environment farming in greenhouses and indoor farms, we have a lot more control over the environment, and generally we can do away with pesticide use completely. Yeah. So that's, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is basically a quick introduction from my side. You can contact me. These are my details.
Thank you for your introductions. Moving on, I would like to ask some general questions about each of your businesses, just so you can elaborate more. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to start with Upgrown Farming. Back to Lionel again. Could you explain the current technology of vertical farming versus regular farming? And what is the difference in terms of productivity?
Yeah, so generally in vertical farming right now, it encompasses a lot of electronics, a lot of hardware. We're generally doing it mostly indoors. So we're using a lot of LED technologies. We're using a lot of IoT solutions. We're using a lot of even mechanical innovations, in terms of the growing systems and irrigation systems. So it's a very high capex or investment costs to set up vertical farms, whereas if you compare it to traditional farming in the soil, it's a lot lower cost, right? But each of it has its pros and cons. In the indoor environment, yes, the starting cost is a lot higher, but it gives you complete control over an environment that would otherwise not exist. While in a more traditional setting, we're basically relying on natural resources and from the sun and from the water that's available. So productivity wise, in theory, vertical farming obviously would be able to produce a lot more than traditional farming per square meter. But that's not necessarily the way to interpret, like, okay, should we just convert all traditional farms to vertical farming, because that is not going to be sustainable, right? So I think what our company does is, like, we have a framework and to kind of evaluate, like, what is the best fit model, how much of traditional farming should be doing, and how much of more high-tech farming should we be doing. So it's trying to find the right fit for the right market and for the right application, and that's really the art and of like finding these magical formulas so that the business model can actually work. So productivity doesn't equate to profitability. So you can be probably more profitable farming in the soil than farming in the vertical farm, but vertical farming definitely gives you a lot more productivity. So it's just about balancing all the different parameters to see, like, what ultimately is the best approach, in terms of like choosing the right farming model for the right purpose. Yeah.
Thank you. That's excellent. So moving on to Jim from Crust Group. Could you please elaborate more on the concept of your business? So what do you mean by transforming waste into raw material or turning unsold bread into beer? And why bread?
We started with bread because we have identified that bread is actually one of the top food loss ingredients in Singapore. And, we were looking at each other, sort of trying to understand what can we do with bread that's kind of fun, sustainable, and exciting for everyone to understand. And so, my co-founder he's got experience in the brewing space. And so we decided to go with our Crust Beer as the first product. Because there's always that stigma that if you do something good for the environment, it might not be as exciting. And we wanted to, remove that stereotype. And that's why we started with bread and we started with beer. Those were all fairly easy to understood. And then, we then started to work on other R&D materials, and as well as other applications of what else we could do. So I'm here in Japan. I'm speaking with people who's going to give us their seaweed, their mushroom, and see what we could do with that. We're discussing maybe we put that into some sort of vitamin supplements with those ingredients because it is high in nutrients. There's a lot of antioxidants in seaweed that we can work with. So it really comes down to the types of application that will be well received by the public. We don't want to just invent a technology that we cannot identify with our consumers. We want to be able to do something that is fun and easy to understand and is good for their health. So that's kind of the genesis and our business model of Crust. We are also working with our own byproduct waste, looking for ways to upcycle our brewing waste into whether it's flour that can be upcycled, that can be used for cooking, baking cookies or pancakes, or we can turn and extrapolate those fibers from our own brewing waste into packaging materials to replace plastics. So, our R&D, our team of food scientists is working tirelessly on new materials and different innovations to see what else we can work with.
Very, very interesting and creative indeed. Really admire your movement here.
Thank you.
So, thank you. So next, I have a question for Viboon from PTTGC. So how does PTTGC apply circular economy concepts to food-related products such as packaging, to safety, hygiene, and environmental concerns?
Thank you. I think I have a couple of slides to answer these questions. The next one, please. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, the next one. Okay, for the PTTGC, we have the circular economy in two ways. The first one is the fossil-based chemical. So in this category, we use recycle and upcycling to help improve the productivity and reduce the waste of the plastic. On the other side, we have the bio-based. This one we use the bioplastic to improve the environment and the material that we have. So the next slide, please. So I tell you about bioplastics. Some of you already know what is bioplastics, but some may not know about it. So the bioplastic, when you look into this metric, on the vertical side, there is bio-based on the top and the fossil-based at the bottom. And on the right is about the degradable or the compostable. And on the left side is the non-degradable. So the fossil fuels is the conventional plastic. Back please. Back a little bit. Okay. For the fossil fuels based chemical is on the bottom left. So it's made of fossils and non-biodegradable. But the bioplastic that PTTGC produce is the bio-based and also compostable. So we produce the PLA and bio-PBS on the top right of the matrix. Okay, next slide, please. So what the difference between the normal plastics and the bioplastic? Can you next, please? So when you look at the paper cups, the normal paper cups are coated by the polyethylene or the PE inside, and the bioplastic coated by bio-PBS inside. So after they put in the ground or in the soil or in the landfill, okay, the paper is compose or disappear within 4 weeks. Okay, but after that, the film of the LDPE is still there. Normally, we cannot see it when we use it, but when the paper gone, the LDPE film still there for, let's say, 200 years. But if we change to the bio-PBS, it's gone within 4 months, both the film and the paper. So this reduce the waste, especially in the compost site, in the landfill, or in the or any other end of life. So the difference between the bioplastic and the normal plastic is made from plants. It's compostable, reduce the CO2, and reduce waste. Next slide, please. So for the PTTGC, we have three products for the bioplastics. The first one is the PLA, called the brand name is NGO, produced by NatureWorks. Most of them they use for the cold cups, cold coffee cups, because the characteristics is like PET. For the bio-PBS, mostly we use for the paper cups, for the hot drink. And also we have the bio-compound blending between PLA and PBS for what we have for the film application. And you can say in the market, the bio-toothbrush also using the bioplastic as well. Next slide, please. So the bioplastic, what can be used for the bioplastic? We use for the food packagings, we use for the straw, we use for the cups, cutlery, and also the bio bags. This is a normal bioplastic that we use for the food packaging. Next slide, please. So in the real world, our customer use the bioplastic. You can see it in Thailand. If you go to the Amazon cafe in Thailand, they use the cold cups and hot cup as well as the bio straw from us. We also have a lot of brand customers who use the bioplastic. So the bioplastic is a new trend of the reducing the waste and fighting global warming. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Very broad range of products, as you can see. So I'm going to have one final question, actually for all of you. How does your business support the quality of life of urban people? Because right now we're all living in the urban area. And how do you manage the waste to refrain from any problems affecting urban life? So we can start off with Lionel first, and Jim and Viboon in this order.
So I think with increasing number of people living in cities today, we are also losing a lot of traditional farmers that where their children are moving into the cities. So, we're going to have a reduction in the number of new generation of people that would want to carry on, in the farming business. And that's why, we have to come up with solutions in the cities where we can farm in the cities. So even though it's a little bit more expensive, but hopefully, with time, I think that would be a new kind of lifestyle, new kind of job opportunity for the cities. And as more people live in the cities, it's inevitable that we have to grow close to where we are, and not ship them from out of the city, from far away. So I think the solutions that we carry are very urban centric. They are part of planning, working closely together with property developers and government officials to plan in terms of the food production roadmap into the entire city planning for the future, right? So with a lot of the new tools that are enabling this industry to be moving forward, I think it's getting easier and easier for this business to become more and more sustainable. Yeah. In terms of waste management for us, mostly it comes down to I would say things like pollution of the waterways and the traditional contamination if your fields have a lot of pesticide and things like that. So because we are doing farming in the city within a closed environment, we actually control a lot of the outputs, right? So we actually don't have a lot of runoffs into the natural water, sewage and things like that. We have a ability to kind of reharvest all the farm waste, and then we can recycle it and or even compost it altogether. So I think managing waste is a big part of the entire urban farming solution. Yeah.
Thank you. Next to Jim.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would like to echo that message. We're here to increase the quality of living for the urban population and also encourage a responsible consumption. And I think there's enough of food out there, but I think people aren't aware of sort of the way to go about consuming these materials. And so, for example, I'm in Japan, we're going to be running a sustainable dinner event next month. And that's using sort of the leftover vegetables, ugly fruits, the things that the farmers usually are going to throw it away because they just can't find a shelf space to extend these for the life of these vegetables. And so we're giving these food laws a second chance for life. We have partnered up with chefs here in Japan. We're gonna transform these amazing ingredients into delicious dishes on the table and showcase that what we could do with these ingredients that people are about to throw it away. And that's the way we look to tackle the waste within our urban center. We don't want people to rely on import and export. We want to encourage them to drink and eat using local surplus ingredients that we could do. For example, in Singapore, we work with Red Mart. They give us their bread that is going to be expired within the next 3 to 4 days. It won't make sense for them to deliver that to their customers because by the time the truck gets to the household, you got about 12 hours to consume that loaf of bread. And that's why, we have partnered up with them and other bakery stores in Singapore, as well as supermarkets and hotels, for them to give us those ingredients, and we upcycle into something else that they can put it back on the shelf. So this is really giving these ingredients a second chance for life, and the way for the consumers to generate additional source of revenue. And in Singapore, we have a great followers of millennials following our brand. They love our products. 70% of them are actually females. So I think the next generation is really looking for ways where they want to be associated and identified with a brand that has sort of making an impact to what we're doing here. And Thailand, we're in discussion with multiple parties. There's a nice group called Happy Grocers in Thailand, in Bangkok. They're doing direct logistic with the farmers, and we will be working with them, upcycling their ingredients into beverages that they can go back and sell to their customers. So that's the way we look to increase the quality of life in urban areas, and also ways to tackle food waste.
Excellent. Next, moving on to Kun Viboon.
Okay, I have a couple of slides to show. Could you please bring up the slide, please? Okay, what I tell you what the GC have done for tackling the waste, especially the plastic waste, and improve the life of people. The first one is we work with TTT, or the Tourist Authority of Thailand, and EcoArf is the foundation from Spain. We collect the waste, the plastic waste, in the ocean, like Smith Island, and then we come up with the new design of the T-shirt and fashion things with the EcoArf, and this can help improve the 140 metric tons of the plastic waste from the ocean of Thailand. This one is we're still going on and working with the EcoArf to make these projects for the future as well. Next slide, please. We also work with Chulalongkorn University, the biggest university in Thailand, based in Bangkok. They use the bio-PBS paper cups in every canteen in the university. And after the customer or the student use all the cups, they collect all the cups and then put it in the compost facility within the university. And the products after that is end up as the fertilizer to be used in the garden of the university. So it is closed-loop waste management. I think if anyone come to Chulalongkorn University, you can look into each canteen, and you can see all the collection systems of the bio-PBS. This one is a good example of the closed-loop waste management by bioplastic. Next slide, please. And also, I told you before, is the Cafe Maison. Every branches, they use bioplastic, the PLA cups and bio-PBS paper cups, as well as bio straw. So this one is a good showcase of the bioplastic to be in the real world. Next slide, please. So during the COVID-19, everyone stay home and order the delivery food to the home. So a lot of waste from the from the food delivery business is going up. 30% are more waste in Bangkok area. So this is a big issue, and the government try to tackle this. So next slide, please. And our GC, we work with the Wong and the Lineman to come up with the bioplastic packaging for store and food shops. So we work with them to provide all the bioplastic packaging as you saw in the screen. And it's very good because it helps reduce the waste from the plastic, especially on the liner of film that I showed you in the previous slide on that. So next, please. So the customer feedback is very good. If you look into the social media or the feedback from the customers and food shop and the store, they very appreciate what we have done so far. So the bioplastic also can improve the life of the people in reducing waste and improve our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you to all speakers. Next, we have some questions from the audience. The first one is for Lionel. Is vertical farming more sustainable than traditional one in terms of carbon footprint?
Can you repeat the question?
The audience is asking that, is vertical farming more sustainable than traditional farming in terms of carbon footprint?
I didn't get the last part, sorry.
In terms of carbon footprint?
Carbon footprint, okay. I think it depends on the product, right? For example, if you're a Thai consumer and, you're basically consuming rice, right? Like, does it make sense to grow rice in a vertical farm? Probably not, right? So it's not so much of a carbon footprint kind of evaluation, but I would say it encompasses the commercial viability as well as the logistics and the feasibility of the entire supply chain, whether it makes sense or not, right? It's not practical for certain crops to be grown in a vertical farm, especially crops like rice or fruit crops and things like that. But if you're talking about certain vegetables, let's say if we are consuming vegetables that are imported from Europe, maybe your temperate crops like spinach or some of the more exotic salad crops and things like that you have to import, then yes, I think that there is an angle there that can be justifiable in terms of carbon footprint, because instead of shipping it in from from another continent, we are basically able to produce it locally. Yes, maybe at a slightly higher cost for the local production in the city, because we have to create the environment for it, which is not available in the local environment. But yeah, I think if you do the carbon calculation, it can actually be justifiable to grow certain crops locally in a vertical farm as compared to growing it based on natural resources in another country. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question is for Jim from Crust Beer. So what kind of co-product do you get from brewing, and how is that reutilized in the cycle?
I mean, we have a variety of different products right now, and we are also working on using our fermentation technology to come out with different non-alcoholic applications, and so that is a critical component of our business model, because I think brewing is only one part of it, and it's kind of a fun product to start with, but it's not something we will be working on continuously. That really the beer part was really just to showcase to people that this is what we could do without technology and with your food laws. It's with food you always have to use five senses, and people want to see when we explain to our customers, they want to see, okay, what do you do with that technology? So we show our Crust Beer and we say, well, you can see it, smell it, drink it, taste it, then they understand. But the conversation goes beyond that. Is looking at what are the ingredients, the food laws that you want us to work with, and what are the applications that your consumers will be interested to look at, and those are the kind of discussions that we have with our corporates when we work with them. So for example in Thailand, Kellogg is giving us their cereals and potato chips because they're throwing away between 2 to 4 tons of these materials every month. And so, we could do a lot with that. And one of the applications we're thinking about is maybe a bread coating that we can use for tempura or fried chicken. Or if somebody's about to throw away their spoiled milk, that's something we can work with the proteins inside. We can extrapolate the fibers out there. There are technologies available that we could work with, because during the pandemic, we saw that there were a lot of people throwing away different food just because the logistic can't keep up with with what's happening. And so the point is, we are a platform of technologies, and therefore we want to work with people and come up with a solution that is best fitted for their consumers and for their market.
Right. Thank you. And from what I understand, the process of making beer itself, you would give you more byproducts from that. Are you doing anything to those byproducts as well?
Yeah. So we are looking for looking at these keto-friendly flour that can be used for baking cookies or pancake and waffles. That's one application we're looking at. The other application is to extrapolate the fibers inside and make that into a packaging film, which is a sustainable material compared to plastics, and it creates a circular economy on what we're doing. So the applications are out there, and our R&D and our team is continuing on seeing what else can we do with our own byproduct waste.
Thank you. And there's another question. This one is actually for everyone. So COVID-19 has caused a financial challenge for many businesses in the food industry. So how do you feel that this has made the situation more difficult for you to achieve your goals for sustainability? So has COVID-19 affected any of your goals in the past year at all?
I mean, maybe I can start with that. I mean, COVID-19 has really been has really accelerated our growth in our space. Not only with the technology where people are now more used to doing meetings over Zoom, but because there's so much waste that's being generated, people are coming to us and say, hey, we have these spoiled apples. And because people aren't going to the restaurants as much as before, we have these spoiled fruits and vegetables. Can you guys do something with that? So really, we have really accelerated our growth during COVID-19, and we are doing our best to really find new technologies to work with different ingredients, and that's not just bread, but rice and other materials.
Oh, okay. I can give the answer to the COVID-19 to our business. There is the negative effects and positive effects from the COVID-19. The negative effects is when there's lockdown, all the restaurants and all the coffee shops have been closed. So the material that used, especially the food packaging of the bioplastic that used in the coffee shops, like straw or the paper cups or the cold cups, the volume is going down. But the positive effect is the delivery platform that I show you, that we work with the Huang and Lineman. The business of the delivery platforms is going up. So we work with the Lineman, and we saw that the food packaging for the delivery is going up as well. So there is a good and bad.
So I can resume. So I think for us in the farming sector, it's also kind of both good and bad. Obviously, I think COVID-19 has been great from a business standpoint for farming because it kind of highlights the importance of local food production wherever you are, and because a lot of the global supply chain has been disrupted. And a lot of food services are not getting their imports, and especially a country like Singapore where we're importing 90% of our food, right? So that changes a lot of the considerations as from a business owner perspective. If you're a food business owner, you're thinking about managing a supply chain in a different way. You're more acceptable to buying from local farms now than before because local farms are always going to be around regardless of whether there's COVID-19 or not. And that's one way where they can manage the supply chain and buffer their risk if another pandemic outbreak happens again. And even moving forward, assuming that the pandemic doesn't go away, right? It's a long-term solution, for urban centers and for the local food supply. And then on the waste front, having a local farm allows you to better manage your demand and supply better as well. So that helps a lot of the entire value chain, altogether. Yeah.
Excellent. So we have time for one last question. I think this is also for anyone. It's about upcycling. We now hear about upcycling more and more these days, but could you show a real life example of how you can move up from recycling to upcycling with creativity? Because sometimes technology might not always come cheap. And anybody would like to take that?
Okay, I think GC work with recycling and upcycling for many years. And the slide that I show you in the presentation show the upcycling that we work with the EcoArf. The definition between recycle and upcycling is the difference is the recycle you use. Let's say you use recycle the film, so it ends up is another application of the film, right? That's a recycle. But the upcycling, you use let's say the PET bottle, and it end up is not another PET bottle. It end up is another application or the added value products. What we do is we put it into the cloth, bag, and any other things that not end up as the commodity products anymore. It's end up we added value, we added design, we added something, we added brand inside. So we can say the recycle, you use the same value from the material that you recycle, but the upcycling do added value. So the price of the bag that we sell is more than 10 times of the PET products or PET bottle that we sell. So in the real life, you can go to, if you have chance to go to the GC office in Bangkok, we have a store of selling all the upcycling products. So you can buy it like clothes, T-shirts, bag, or any other things. You can go and check it out in Bangkok.
Yeah, I think for us, our mission is to reduce 1% of the global food loss by 2030. And therefore, we want to empower everyone to join this journey with us. And the goal for us is to make the technology accessible and affordable for everyone. And so we want to make sure that when we provide our technology, it's something that people can understand and afford. And so that's why we have different sort of menu of choices for people to select. Depends on the ingredients that they have, and obviously we will make sure that price is not going to be a deal breaker when it comes to upcycling. We want to make sure that people join us and we find a way to work with them and to upcycle their for their own materials. And also this is a way for them to be able to monetize on their own food loss, because in Singapore and in Japan, you actually have to pay someone to get rid of your waste. But this is a way, the way we empower our customers is that you don't have to pay us because we're not a logistic company. We're an R&D food tech. What we do is we empower you to monetize on your food loss. The things that you're going to throw it away, now you actually can generate some revenue from those materials. And that's where we come in. We want to make sure our technology is accessible and affordable. And that's part of our mission to reduce 1% of the global food loss by 2030.
So on my end is, I guess I can share a different perspective. So like we try to engage it from the perspective where the psychology of the consumer is always going to be convenience, right? Like, so they might, like majority of the consumers might not think about recycling or upcycling. So what we try to do is we're designing it into our processes where we eliminate the need on the responsibility of the consumer to actually having to be responsible for any waste like upcycling or recycling. We try to put into different components of our entire farming process, and also in terms of the product distribution process, where we are already using the best practices and the best possibilities in terms of using sustainable materials and upcycling some of the raw materials, where we can then remake it into different products that are used in the farms. But the farmer don't have to think about it. The consumers don't have to think about it. It's already designed into the process. So, they can continue to be, literally an irresponsible citizen, and they're still going to be helping the environment. Yeah.
Excellent. So I think that's about it for our session. Thank you to all speakers. It has been a very impressive session. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huang, Mr. Wong, Mr. Viboon, and Dr. Petoon for making this session a very interesting conversation.